Have you ever wanted to discover what's missing in your life? Metaphysics is available to all and is part of your life even if you don't know it. Welcome to Metaphysics, a view through the veil with Barb Crowley. Together we'll explore the mysteries behind metaphysics and how to use it to have a deeper understanding and advantage in life. And now here's your host, Barb Crowley.
Hi, this is Barb Crowley, and welcome to Metaphysics, a View Through the Veil. Today we're speaking to Kristin Koenig. And Kristin is a multidimensional healing facilitator. She blends her intuitive gifts as a tarot, alchemist, Reiki energy healer, biofield tuner, shamanic practitioner, and a death doula. She deals both with people and pets and has a very tight connection with her pets. And we're going to talk first mostly about death doula, which I'm fascinated about. So, Kristin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Barb.
Thanks. I'm so glad you're here. And I have not spoken to anyone, had anybody on as a death doula. So
Wow.
I'd love to hear about that.
Okay.
First, though, how did you even get to work with these kind of gifts? What brought you to the table, so to speak?
With my metaphysical gifts?
Yeah.
When I was 19, I lived in Oklahoma. I was raised in Oklahoma, and I had an astrology reading, and the woman told me, you have the gift of divination, you have healing coming out of your hands. And I was raised Christian, and I had no idea what that meant. So fast forward to about 2002, 2004, I was kind of going through a dark night of the soul, and I got these angel cards, and my friend said, what cards are you reading with? You are so right on. Those are just exactly telling you what you need at this time. And I said, I told her, and she got me a tarot deck, and then that was all it took. And then in about 2004, I went through yoga teacher training. Mm-hmm. And my yoga teacher said, you're a subtle body healer. And again, I did not know what that meant.
Right.
So in about 2012, when we moved to Denver, well, we'd already been here a couple of years, but
where'd you come from?
Well, I was born in Oklahoma, moved to Texas. Then I lived outside of Washington, D.C. And that's where I came from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. So I had my first Reiki attunement in 2012. It was a group attunement. And then I've just followed with them. And then I do a lot of energy healing. I work with light in my energy healing.
How do you
sound.
work with light? We'll go a little sideways and then come back to death doula.
Okay, sure. I've just always worked with light. It's always.
What does that mean, working with light?
It's just always, when I've set sacred space and created the healing space, the light would come in, different colors of light. And a friend gave me a book called The 7 Sacred Flames of Lemuria. And that's working with the seven sacred rays, which is light or flames. And it's just bringing in light to the healing, each light.
Do different colors come in?
Yes.
And do they mean different things?
Yes.
And so what would blue mean?
Blue means clarity to me, peace. I always kind of associate that with Archangel Michael. So just bringing in that power, protection, clarity, peace, direction, guidance.
Yeah. How about red?
Red's not one that I work with a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more subtle colors, I think. Maybe coral would be the closest, or rose, pink, but not just red. A lot of times I see red when I'm doing like a entity extraction or something, and I ask my client, what color do you see? You have this entity, we're going to, let's psychically remove it. And they'll go, usually it's red or black or.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It makes it easier to see things too, if they have a color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me, how did you get to become a death doula?
I think I've been a death walker my whole life. Like I said, I grew up in Oklahoma on this little lake, and I was always rescuing these baby ducklings that the mother abandoned, and
Mm-hmm.
they would die. And I was like, a 7, 8-year-old kid out there having a funeral for these baby ducks in my backyard and burying them.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I've always kind of, um, I don't know, I was with my father when he passed, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even Reiki attuned at that time. Um, I was in 2022, my mother passed or died. Let's use the
Mm-hmm.
correct terminology. My mother died, and I was blessed to be with her for 3 weeks, bedside, and giving her Reiki, caring for her. And I just had such a profound experience. I had 2 people ask me, "Will you come be with me when I die?"
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, "Oh my gosh." And I noticed these ads, I guess they were for death wives on Facebook. And I decided to go to death school. And I went to death school. And yeah, and in the very beginning of my Reiki, I was always helping animals and animals transition. So yeah, that's kind of how it all came together.
You know, I've worked with, or I'll look at animals psychically, more than that, more than anything, rather than work with them as in a transition like that.
Mhm.
But it always seems to me that cats just move over 8 inches. Nothing changes. They just move over away from their body, nothing
Right,
changes. Yeah, and they just stay there. Life goes on.
right,
I know, it's funny. And
exactly.
and dogs are a little bit more dense, or it's not quite as easy for them, but
I
But what
think
do you
it's
say?
I don't think it's as easy for them because they so much want to stay with their person and protect their person and help their person. They're so loyal.
Hmm.
They want to make sure their person's going to be okay or their people are going to be okay once
Right.
they transition. So
And do you see them staying there, staying in the family after they transition, or do they leave?
sometimes I see them stay,
Hmm. But
hmm
not always, huh?
but not always.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
yeah,
So how do you walk me through death doula? What happens? Because I honestly know nothing about it.
like during the death process
Yeah,
or
from the time somebody calls you and says we want to, and you called him Death Walker. I kind of like that, you know.
yeah, I just feel like there's many different aspects to being a death doula. You can be an advocate for positive death,
Mhm. What does that
so
mean?
well, I think around the Civil War, death became very sterilized.
Hmm.
Before the Civil War, we died in our homes with our people around us, singing rituals, praying, comforting the person. Um, Around the Civil War, people were moving their loved ones' bodies back home. They were refrigerated. It just started to become a very sterilized process.
Hmm.
Um, and not a, For me, it's kind of a scary process.
Right.
Um, so I think talking about death, my mother, just to use her as a reference, she would not talk about death. She
Hmm.
never wanted to talk about it. And my father was completely different. He was very pragmatic about it. This is what's going to happen.
Right.
So if someone were to call me and say, I need a death doula, I'd have a conversation with them, what they needed to see if it was a good fit,
Hmm.
to see if how that would work. I would want to know, I would encourage them to have a DNR, a do not resuscitate. I would
Right.
encourage them to have all their legal I
Papers
would
together.
papers in
Yeah.
order, and I would help guide them through that.
Hmm.
And then just comforting someone who's approaching death. It's a scary process. No one's, well, we've had near death experiences, so people can come back and say what they experienced, but we don't really know 100% what
Hmm.
happens. So,
As my
you know,
father said, anybody who looks into that abyss is afraid. anybody that, as much as we think we know, it's an unknown.
It is an unknown, and
Yeah.
it's uncomfortable for people. And I want to bring comfort, grace, and
Mhm.
ease to people about it, just even in talking about death.
Right.
Yeah, I recently discovered that I have the goddess Hecate exactly conjunct my natal sun. And that
Wait,
has,
say that again. Sorry.
I recently discovered I have the goddess Hecate exactly conjunct my natal sun. So Hecate is all about those liminal spaces. She loves the dead. She loves being with the souls of the dead, so it
Oh,
has kind of affirmed to me I'm on the right path in helping people.
so you're an astrologer as well. That wasn't in
No,
your bio.
I'm not an astrologer. I just follow astrology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of her or her being in an astrology chart,
She's an asteroid. There's
which is what?
an asteroid called named Hecate.
Ah,
Mhm.
I've never had an asteroid show up in my chart, I think.
You just have to change your settings. I had an astrology reading last summer
Mhm,
or in the fall, I had a very incredibly difficult, profound experience with death
mhm.
on Lionsgate 882524. Sorry. My 25-year-old niece had a medical event and began her death process.
Oh my God.
And I was helping her energetically.
Mhm.
So after that, I just thought, it really shook me up.
Of
And
course, yeah.
it was a very just heartbreaking and tragic in so many ways and beautiful in many ways also.
Mhm.
But I decided to get an astrology reading. I hadn't had one in a while, and I just thought, I need one. And the astrologer told me that. She said, I just want to tell you, you have Hecate exactly conjunct your natal sun. And so, Hecate's she's kind of the one in Greek mythology that went with Persephone in the underworld,
Uh-huh.
or Demeter asked her to go, or she just volunteered to go. And she was with Persephone as her handmaiden in the underworld. And then, helped her back to the light. She's a torchbearer, Hecate.
Mhm. Wow. So when
Yeah.
did you become a death doula? Was it after that or before that?
Was after my mother died. So in like
And when she died? Yeah,
2022.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with my family, if somebody's passing, we do what we call death watch. We are all there 24/7, all there until they pass.
Yes.
Till they pass. And we're Irish descent, so we're all in. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I
And
like that.
yeah, oh, it is good. And it's an honor. That's the other thing.
It
So
is an honor.
I've been able to watch it both physically, but as a psychic, also from that side of it. And, just to watch what goes on the other side is amazing. And often they're not in body, they're sitting next to me,
Yes.
in the body, so often they're not even in body, but yeah.
I believe during the death process that we're kind of going out of our body and back in, and out of
Mhm.
our body and back in. And that's what I've seen
Right.
psychically.
That's what it
Um,
looks like to me too.
mhm.
Yeah.
And it just,
Do
yeah.
you know do you know what I call the choir when other spirits come in and that buzzing sound? Do you know that? No.
No.
Yeah, okay, I get that. That it's a buzzing sound and I've come to the conclusion that that's energetically lifting the person up and bringing heaven down so
Oh,
they meet, they meet.
yeah. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I see more, I think.
Mhm.
Clairvoyantly, um, with my mother, I think, it was my mother.
Right,
It was very
exactly. Yeah.
difficult. But what I saw, I remember seeing like a silver thread.
Mhm.
Um, with my niece, I saw other people
Mhm.
and that have already crossed or already died that
Right. We're coming
were
together
coming
kind
to
of.
get her and showed me
Yeah.
that they were holding her. And, these are things I saw before I was even able to process it, or I did not share that with my sister or my bonus mom. I just kept that to myself. This is
Right.
probably the first time I've shared it
Yeah.
greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of times you can't, they're not ready for it. So
exactly.
you just don't say anything. Yeah. But, yeah, no, I've watched it, but I've never been a death doula nor known about it. No, know much about it. So if I called you and I said, "Look, I don't even want to say this out loud, but say, okay, I've got a deadline here, and I want somebody to walk through this with me," what would you do? Can you step through with me the different parts?
I would ask you what you wanted to do at your end of life care. What was important to you? Who would you want around you? Would you want Reiki? Would you want energy healing? Would you want, I work a lot with the Antakarana bridge. Would you would you want to prepare your Antakarana bridge for
Okay, you
your
got to explain to me what that is.
Okay, so the Antakarana bridge is in Vedic lore, it's a spiritual organ. I
Let's
believe it
back up a little bit. Vedic is a,
Hinduism.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then Alice Bailey, I believe she called the Antakarana Bridge so we have a main central column of light, a Shishinma. That's also Hindu. But the Shishinma, the Antakarana Bridge is kind of from the Shishinma, from that central column of light through the veil.
And the central column of light comes because for the people who are listening and not watching, that you're showing your seventh chakra as if it's coming
Correct.
from your seventh chakra, the top of your head.
Correct.
Yeah.
That Antakarana bridge will connects to your seventh chakra. And I think I see it all the time when I will be honest, the first time I saw it was with animals. People would call me, "Is my animal ready to be, I think she's in so much pain. Should I put her to sleep? Should I, and
Right.
I won't ever tell people, yes, your dog is ready to go. I just encourage them to watch the dog and let the dog is going to, or the animal is going to let them know. I don't feel like it's my place to decide that. I'm
Right.
not their guardian. I had my first experience with a human in the Antakarana Bridge. I had a client that I had seen many times. And she came in and said, "Can you give me Reiki?" And I said, "Sure." And I'm giving her Reiki and I'm just like holding that space. And, I see things. And I do my very best not to judge them and just accept them and let it flow. And what I saw was her Antakarana bridge. I saw her rainbow bridge. And it was after we finished the session and grounded and everything, I was
And
on
this
my
was for her, not for her pet, for her.
for her.
Yeah.
It was for her.
Yeah.
I was driving home and a girlfriend called me and she said, "How was it? What?" And I said, I don't even want to talk about what I saw today. I'm trying to process it. I'm trying to figure it out. 3 days later, that person had a cardiac event, recovered from that event, but was told that she had 6 weeks to live.
Wow.
Yeah. I saw it and I just sat in wonderment by it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm seeing her on Takarana Bridge." And, I kind of just was like, I don't want to, just like you said, I don't want to speak it into existence.
Right.
That's how I
Right.
felt with her. I didn't want
Yeah.
to speak it into existence. And then it was 3 days later,
Did you tell her or just left it out?
I left it out.
Right. Right. I think
I,
that's probably good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just, I also see sometimes in Reiki when people have been sexually abused, and I leave that out. I just bring how it works for me with Reiki is the symbol will come, and I know by the symbol and where it goes in the body,
Right.
what has happened. And I don't tell people that either. I just,
Yeah, it's a private.
that's very private, and they may not be aware consciously.
Mhm.
So,
Right. And with that person that you saw that you were just doing Reiki and you saw that, but did not say anything after she had an event and survived that event, but was told, had very short time to live. Did you reconnect with her again?
Yes, I did.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And
so basically started to help her through the transition period.
yeah, somewhat. Yeah. I
Yeah.
gave her Reiki.
Hmm.
I gave her Reiki several times and helped with that part of it.
Right, right. Um, so back again, I went this step by step. If I called you and said this is going to happen, will you walk me through? We would have a conversation about death and my perception.
Yes. And
Yeah.
what you wanted for end of life care. What
Hmm.
did you want your death to look like?
And what are
Um,
some of the ways that it would, if I said to you, I have no idea, what would you suggest?
I would say, do you want family around you? And who do you want around you? Would you like music playing? There's a point when we're dying, we're still conscious.
Hmm.
I think we're still conscious, but once we start actively dying, we're kind of in that zone. We're going,
Right.
we're leaving. There's no turning back now. Um,
During
so
that zone, do you think they are aware of the people around them or not really?
I think so. I
Yeah.
know my mother could still hear me,
Hmm.
and this goes into the biofield tuning. I use a tuner called the sonic ohm. You don't place it on the body. It has a very high frequency. And that was how I'm going to cry. That was how I connected best with her while
Hmm.
she was actively dying. I was able to spend 10 hours the last day of her life. I stayed with her. It was just me and her and my dog. And
Yeah.
I would use that sonic ohm on her heart. And I could tell
And
she felt
I
it.
don't know what that is. The would you call it the
Biofield
biofield
tuning.
tuner? Yeah.
Mhm.
What is that?
Biofield tuning is so the way I was trained and the way I use it is I use two tuning forks
Hmm.
that resonate as the same frequency as the earth.
Hmm.
And I place them on different acupressure points on the body to bring balance, harmony, clearing. A lot of times I'll be doing the biofield tuning and I'll feel a block or something in a chakra that needs to be removed. And I use that
Vibration.
the
Yeah.
vibration, the frequency to pull that energy out. It's a very gentle way. People usually feel so much better after they have a biofield tuning session. They
Wow.
just feel more grounded, more at peace.
Hmm. So normally you can do that separately. You do that as one of your services, but you bring it into the death doula work as well.
Yeah, I do it with Reiki. And
Hmm.
I was not able to use the tuning forks on my mother. She had a pacemaker.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
even though she was dying,
Yeah.
out of respect and everything, I just didn't. I used probably metamorphosis and Jin Jitsu possibly to just
Okay.
kind of
What's that now?
so metamorphosis is really
That's
relieving
a change, right?
it creates a change.
Hmm.
Metamorphosis is a technique using the hands, feet, spine, and head with gentle touch where you help relieve unconscious tension held in the body. So
Hmm.
it can even be when you were being formed in the womb, you
Yeah.
know, and so it's just a very gentle touch. And I'm super intuitive, and especially with touch and just moving my hands on different, either the hand, the feet, the spine, or the head.
Hmm. So you will use that on somebody who's passing?
Yes.
And do they have to request that, or do you just do it without conversation?
If I was your death doula and we
Pretend
had
you are,
and I
let's
would
do it
ask
that way.
you, yeah, do you
Yeah.
want this type of energy healing? A lot of times when people are getting very close to transit, in the transitions
Yeah.
portion of dying, um, they don't want to be touched, or they push away people that they love and care about. that happens,
Mhm.
So I would ask, would you like biofield tuning? Would you like Reiki? Would you like me to help you build your Corona bridge so that your transition is as
Right.
beautiful as it can be?
And
Death.
I'm sorry. What about during that period where they're no longer communicative?
Then if they've given me permission, then I would do it.
So
I've
you would set that up beforehand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ideally,
Yeah. Yeah.
ideally,
Hmm.
with my niece, when she transitioned, it was all energetic. It was as if I was a psychopomp for her, helping her through that
What does
onto Corona
psychopomp
Bridge.
mean again? I know I've heard the word, but I forgot what it meant.
Psychopomp is someone who helps you in death
Oh, okay.
on an energetic level or a shamanic level.
Hmm.
That's probably a very rudimentary definition.
Okay. I know I've
But
heard the word, but I didn't really know what it meant.
right,
Yeah.
it wasn't until after she died, until Maddie died, that I realized I was like a psychopomp for her.
Hmm.
I mean, I was
Right.
like called in to give her Reiki because she had this medical event, and um it was just a progression of
The dominoes started to fall.
everything just started
Right.
happening
Yeah.
all energetically. I could, it was just so profound,
Hmm.
just a
Yeah.
very profound experience,
Were you there or did you do it remotely?
remotely.
Yeah. Wow. That's
And
a
also,
that close. Yeah.
yeah, and
That young.
oh my gosh, just, my son is 26, so I was just,
Right.
um,
Right.
that's when I learned to keen. And so being of Irish descent, you may know this,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
keen, and I
Right.
would just be in my bathroom just howling and
Hmm.
just at the seeming injustice of it all.
Right.
Um, yeah,
And the keening is a vibration sound, really,
it is.
that releases that or joins, it seems like, joins into
It,
a universal vibration of grief.
correct. And I
Yeah.
believe it helps the person that's dying. It helps them through.
Mhm.
Many indigenous cultures, other cultures besides the US, that grief is so handled so differently for them. Um it's we don't look at someone like, here in the US, someone dies, you get maybe 3 days off work and then you're
Right.
back to it just like nothing happened, and that's so unfair. In other cultures, people are like screaming and pulling their hair out and, just pulling at their clothes, just acting
Right. Right.
totally what we would see is irrational, but the other cultures honor that because they know that person is in deep grief. And when we are in that deep grief and crying, I truly believe, and, just brokenhearted and missing that person, we're helping that person with their death process.
Hmm.
Even if they're already dead, they're still transitioning.
Yeah. How long do they transition after the body dies?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I
okay.
still
Yeah.
send uh, energy healing to people in my life that have died.
Hmm.
I know they're in another dimension. That's my belief.
Right. Do you
And
have communication? Do you know?
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. After Maddie died, my niece, I felt her so strongly supporting me. Maddie was this wonderful young lady, and she just came through and supported me so strongly. And then with my mother, I remember I had a vision um, where I saw her and she was walking and she was like 19 years old and she was
Oh, wow.
free
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
was smiling. And I was just like, good, mama, good. I got you where
Yeah.
you needed to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was,
That was good.
yeah,
We were talking about vibration of the keening, but you use singing bowls as well.
I do. I use a couple of singing bowls. One of my favorite ones it's called a mana kamana bowl. It's this right here.
Okay. And that's a copper bowl?
It
Because some
is.
people will be listening and not looking,
It is.
so
It's a copper bowl, and it has like
a stem to it that you hold.
yes,
Yeah.
and the stem, and inside the stem is sacred waters from a temple in India, and it's been blessed by um the monks there. And it just, oh, when you use it, you feel so you still people feel so much better, myself included, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um a lot of times after a healing session, I will use the Mana bowl just to kind of finish it all off. And even before I was using that, when I just used my tuning forks, people's
Mhm.
aura just looked so much softer, so much
More
just like
peaceful.
clear, peaceful. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we cleared a lot of that off. A
What
lot of
does
that.
that vibration clear off? So let's say if you've got somebody who's transitioning and you use that, what's the effect? As well as, calming, but, what does that
Well,
vibration do?
I think it just, we are vibration, we are
Mhm.
energy. It just helps the energy field be clearer,
Yeah.
free, more in resonance with the earth. We are the earth, you know, we are not separate from the earth. We are part of the earth. So it just
Mhm.
helps keep that resonance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know, I know with my mother, you know, I had dreams about her while I was there taking care of her in Oklahoma. I had dreams of, I didn't, what does this mean? I've always had very prophetic dreams. And
Uh-huh.
this was when I first got there, and I realized I need to help her ground so she can believe.
Yeah.
That
Do
may
you
sound
do you
strange.
need do you think they need to be, that's kind of, you're going in two opposite directions almost, to leave and grounding. One's planting in the earth and the other one's releasing. So do they work together?
I think so.
Yeah.
That was what my guidance was with my mother. That was that I really had to ground her, help her be embodied in her body so she could let it go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, Especially for someone who didn't want to talk about death, or,
Right.
you know, and I had to tell her, Mama, I'm going to stay here with you and get you to your heavenly home with grace and ease. You know,
Mm-hmm.
no one really told her that she was dying. My sister and my bonus dad, who I love very dearly, they just kept trying to keep her here.
Right. Right.
And I get
Did
that.
she know she was dying?
I'm the one that had to tell her.
What was she dying of, if you don't mind my asking?
She had kidney disease.
Oh, okay.
She was 89, I think.
Yeah. And she didn't know she was dying? Or do you
I
think she
don't
did and
know.
nobody was saying anything?
Nobody was saying anything until I got
Yeah.
there. And then
Yeah.
you know, and I think, you know, there was some resentment there because I was like, this is going to happen. We can't stop it. It's
Right.
not, you can't
Right.
feed her and make her stay here. You know,
Right.
it was just, I've got to help her. I want her to be comfortable. I want her to be in, you know,
Right. So you spoke the unspoken.
yes,
Yeah. How'd they take it?
not very well, because hospice had already been telling them that, you
Yeah.
know,
They
and
weren't
they
ready for it.
they just weren't ready. They
Yeah.
loved her so much, and they'd been giving beautiful care to her, you know,
Right.
and it's hard for us to let go of our loved ones.
And how was it for her when they were hanging on? So when they couldn't accept it, did that make her not accept it or?
I don't know. She
Hmm.
didn't ever really say, you know.
Yeah. So she never, there was no conversation with her.
Nope, except
Yeah.
when I told her, I'm going to stay here with you, Mama, and get you to your heavenly home with grace and ease.
Yeah.
I'm going to be by your side. I'm going to get you there. Don't worry. You're going to be fine. I'm going to protect you.
Right. And did she say anything or you were just
Sh-
saying it?
She bowed her head.
Yeah. Yeah. Sweet. That's sweet. Normally, when you work with somebody, how do you work with the other members of the family? Because by the time you're called in, I would think that other members of the family, it's normally it's an accepted thing that this is happening.
Right. You know, just there's always, I don't know, there's always so much at death, and kind of like
Hmm.
at death. And um I would just support the family as much as I could, and in accordance with who I was caring for wanted.
Yeah.
Um, if I was caring for someone that said, I do not want to see my son, or my daughter, or I do not want to see this person, I would
Mhm.
honor that, because I'm there for that person as
Right.
well as the family. After, I would encourage people to be with that person that is dying,
Hmm.
sing to them, read to them, talk to them, be
Right.
with them. Um, After they've died, I would encourage people to cleanse their person,
Hmm.
bathe them,
Right. Right.
dress them.
Hmm. Um, if you're called in by the family, but not the person who's dying, what happens there?
Ooh, that would be tricky.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just sit with them and ask them how they're feeling today, and that
Hmm.
I'm happy to be with them, and how can I be of service to them?
Yeah.
How can I help them?
Hmm.
Um, it's not someone asked me one time, well, Reiki, and with Reiki, you can kind of help people or animals, you can help them through the bridge. Yes, I help build the bridge, but I'm not like,
Pushing them through.
no, no. I mean, that's there, even an animal. With animals, they are sovereign too.
Hmm.
They know what to do. The soul knows what to do in death. It's
I was,
just
yeah,
holding
I
that
was going to
space.
ask, what's the difference between working with animals and working with people?
With animals, I follow, or I've read some books by Kathleen Prasad. She does animal-led Reiki. So when I first started Reiki, I was just like beaming Reiki to people, my animals, and
Yeah.
and I would just beam the Reiki. Uh, with animal-led Reiki, I'd have a different approach. I go in and I ask. I create sacred space.
Hmm.
Ask the animal to come into this sacred space. Do they want to come in? Are they open to receiving Reiki or energy healing? Um, I'm very, I've had people want me to change their animal's behavior and I'm like, that's not really how I work. I'm there to support the animal and you too, but they are sovereign beings.
Yeah.
Right now, I feel like so strongly we should really be listening to the animals. I think they just are they know more than we do. They're on a different frequency. Um,
What are they telling us right now? Because the world is crazy.
just really take care of yourself.
Mm.
Do your own work. I mean,
Yeah.
that's coming from me too. I think the best thing we can do for one another right now is clear our own energy field every day, at least
Yeah.
once a day. Clear your field. You're doing a huge service to other people to have a clear energy field. Be in your light. Let your light shine.
And how do you clear your field?
Oh, I have lots of different ways. With the biofield tunings, one way,
Hmm. The bowls.
Reiki,
Yeah.
mhm, the bowls, um, light. Light
Hmm.
always comes through for me. I work with my Anta Karana bridge every day.
Do
You
you,
know,
so how
mhm.
can you see yours?
I just saw mine yesterday, and it was the most beautiful experience I've had in a long time. Um, there's a Reiki symbol. It's also a ancient Celtic symbol called Triskelion, and that kind of helps build that bridge, and it also helps clear out karmic sludge and psychic sludge from your energy field.
Hmm.
So that's one way I do it. And yeah.
When you see your rainbow bridge, doesn't that make you a little nervous? Like it's
Uh,
awfully close.
well, yes, I kind of thought that after I did that. I did like a little healing session on myself yesterday, and I was like, wow, that was so cool. I saw my rainbow bridge. It was beautiful. And let me tell you, it felt really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt so good. I was like, I like it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I was taking a shower afterwards, I was like, oh,
Wait a
wow.
minute. Yeah.
But I just want, when my time comes, I just want it to be a beautiful thing. I don't think I don't do death predictions. I don't know when death is necessarily going to happen, but although I can kind of see it in a way, I don't know. I don't feel like it's for me to say. But I want to work with my Antakarana bridge every day. I want it. Plus, because when you're building that Antakarana bridge, you're building your connection to your higher self, to the divine, to that infinite spark of creation.
Right. Isn't it always there or no? It's
Yes,
only
I
at
think,
yeah.
no, I think it's always there. I think it is like sometimes very tiny and thin, like a thread, even just so thin. And as we work with it, it widens and we can take in more light from the cosmic
Yeah.
as well as, yeah.
Huh. So energy is going back and forth through that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it becomes visible when it's close. Let's say, with that person you told me about before.
Yes.
Yeah,
But yes, that's what yes. But when I saw mine yesterday, I don't think that means I'm getting ready to leave.
yeah.
I don't know.
Can we accept our own death? A lot of people say we can't conceive of it, not accept it, but can't conceive of us leaving the body. That it's beyond our capability, really.
Probably in our humanness, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's been so much negative connotation around death, especially here in the US. It's just the funerary industry is so not like what it used to be. It used to be we had a mom and pop mortuary,
Right.
and
And knew
now,
your whole family and generations of your family. Yeah.
right, and now it's like a corporate thing, and your person, if they go to a funeral home, they may be taken somewhere else to be prepared, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
very separate, very disconnected.
yes, it's very
Yeah. Yeah.
disconnected, and I don't think it's something to fear. I think that once we leave this earth suit, is what I call it, we're in another dimension. Yeah. And
When
like I said,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
no, like I said, I still connect with people that have died and that are in another dimension or have moved through the veil. I love the name of your show, Through the Veil,
Yeah,
because
yeah. It is. It's like peeking through, it's the best
yes,
we can do. um so as a death doula and you're there, and after they have passed, what do you do?
you
Or is
know,
that pre-set up what you would do, or would you leave, or
I,
stay?
if ideally,
Mhm.
I would want to know, do you want me to be a death midwife and cleanse your body, dress your body, prepare your body for burial? How do you want to be buried?
Right.
So I would really encourage family members to do that as well.
Hmm.
The cleansing of the body, seeing the body. It's so sacred that after someone dies,
Hmm.
that time afterwards is so sacred. It's that veil is open, that portal is open, and what we do is we want to hurry up and busy around, and we've got to
Right.
do this and we've got to do that. And really just sit with your person,
Hmm.
just sit with them or your animal.
Yeah.
And like with my animals, go ahead. You got
No,
a
no,
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
So with my animals, I've had lost two cats the last 2 summers. It's been really hard.
Mhm.
Um, but Pickles, I had the vet come. She had inflammatory bowel disease, so I had the vet come and
The
put her.
sister. Yeah.
Mhm. And then I had prepared a space for her. I kept her overnight.
Hmm.
I put her on her favorite chair,
Yeah.
and I let all the other animals come around her and be with her and smell her. And then the next morning I got up and took her for water cremation. And then I did the same thing with my cat Jupiter this past summer.
I don't know what water cremation is.
Water cremation is really a beautiful and gentle process. Fire cremation is not, there's nothing gentle. about
Mhm.
it.
Right.
So water cremation, they just use water and alkaline, I believe, and you're put kind of in a big
That.
vat.
Yeah.
And the water, it takes about 12 hours, I believe, and maybe a little bit longer. And then you have this beautiful tea, is what they call it. The family can take some of the tea. You can water your trees with it, your garden.
Do you drink
Um,
it
no.
like a tea?
Yeah, I wouldn't drink. They
Yeah.
call it tea, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't drink it.
Yeah.
But it's nutrient rich.
Mhm.
And then your bones are this lovely white
Mhm.
bones. When you're fire cremated, they're not like that. They're,
Right.
yeah, they're just
They're
not.
they're charred and
They're
they're,
kind of,
yeah, just burned. But with the bones, what did the funeral homes, or, I've never heard of this. So,
okay.
um,
So with water cremation, they have to grind your bones down,
to a
and they
powder.
to a powder, and they can give them to you, I believe.
Hmm.
Same as with fire cremation. They're just these lovely white bones, is what I call them. They're just like very pure.
Do a
Um,
lot of funeral homes offer that?
no,
Very few.
very few. We have one here in Denver called Be a Tree Cremation,
Hmm.
and it's water. I don't know of another one. And then there are a lot of animals. That's how they're cremated, is through the water. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
what's the name of that? It's a hospital. I can't remember the name of it. The Mayo
An
Clinic.
animal hospital. Oh, Mayo Clinic.
They do
Yeah.
water cremation.
Oh, they do. Wow.
There's many different funerary options now besides traditional, um, going to the funeral home, being embalmed, being in a casket.
I
My
only
niece,
know that and cremation. Those are the only two I really know.
yeah, we have a lot of options. We have natural burial where they bury you, um, 3 feet under,
Mm.
so that you decompose quickly. Your body will decompose quickly. We have Recompose Life, which is I believe it's in Washington State, in Seattle. And that's like, and we also have it, I think it's allowed here in Colorado. I just don't know of a facility, right off the top of my head, but it's like composting. You're put in another vat, but you're put in there with wood chips and straw and maybe something else. And then they ventilate it and you stay in there a certain amount of time. And then there's this
How long does that take, though?
a little bit longer, a couple of
Mhm.
months, I think. But then you have this nutrient dense soil.
Yeah.
So
And they do that here in Denver too?
I believe so, but I don't know of a facility. I believe it's allowed.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know all these different ways.
And like my niece, Maddie, I was so proud of my sister and her ex-husband, how they cared for her remains.
Hmm.
She was buried in a more of a natural way with a burial shroud.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
And these are all allowed now because,
Yes.
yeah,
Well, they're allowed in Colorado and I guess in Oklahoma as well. You can do the
right.
natural burial.
But it
Because
has to
when,
be done within 24 hours or something?
no,
Oh, not
no.
anymore, huh?
Mm-mm.
It used to be if you didn't embalm, it used to be, or, cremate, yeah, it had to be within 24 hours.
I don't believe so because I know one of my death school teachers, they kept one of her family members for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's ways that we can keep them on ice. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
like ice, but it is
Well, air conditioning will,
air conditioning
yeah.
is, yeah. And, like people were like kind of freaked out that I kept my cats overnight. And I was like, they were fine. They didn't smell. I put them on.
Mhm.
I knew what to do, and
Well, when my mother died, I didn't think I was going to say this on camera, but when my mother died, I was here in Colorado and all of my family was in New Jersey, and that's where she died. And they kept the body in the house. They brought in a bunch of
yes.
air conditioners and until I got there and could visit with her.
Oh, I love that.
Hmm.
I love that because sometimes the funeral homes won't, they only give you like
It's
20
different.
minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just,
different.
it's
Yeah.
different. I
And
just
I
think
could lay
it's,
down with her and all
yes.
of that. So
Oh, that's,
very
yes.
grateful for that. Now I'm getting choked up.
I know.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing.
It's a
And,
tough thing to lose your mama,
oh my
you
God.
know.
And my mother never really knew her mother. Her mother died when my mother was 7 years old. And my mother
Mm.
said to me one time, going to a memorial for somebody else's mother, she said, wow, people are really attached to their mothers.
Oh,
Because she had never had that experience, really, or not
aw,
long enough, not long enough. But yeah, that was kind of a weird comment.
right. And you get a
I
lot
know.
of weird comments when someone, yeah, you get a lot of weird comments around death and when someone
Yeah.
dies, you
Yeah.
just, people say stuff and you're like,
Yeah, I know. It is
that
kind of
didn't.
weird. Yeah. After they die, they transition energetically. Do you stay with them? Do you assist them? Just energetically. I know
Yes.
you've got the family and all of that, but what do you do energetically with
I,
the
c-
soul that has transitioned?
yeah, I continue to send them Reiki and light and just
Mm.
energy healing. Um, like I said,
Yeah.
I work with light a lot. So I'm, or just a Reiki symbol, um,
Hmm. To facilitate
to
to
facilitate.
assist the energy movement.
Yes,
Yeah.
because like I said, I believe we're always transitioning. Even when we leave our bodies,
Yeah.
we're in another dimension. We're not just going to stay there forever.
Can you see them in the other dimensions, or you just perceive it?
Well, I saw my mom.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, sometimes I can see them
Yeah. Yeah.
and perceive them both.
Uh-huh. We didn't talk about tarot much at all,
Oh,
but you do use that.
I do use tarot. It's a visual cue. I think I read more. I want you to be empowered, you know,
What does
tarot
that mean to be empowered?
to feel better, like like you can do this. You have what it takes to do something that this seeming outside force isn't in control of you.
So
Um,
it's your journey,
it's
and
your journey.
yeah,
You're,
you're
and
setting that journey.
the tarot cards just are kind of a guide. I don't ever want people to think it's a predetermined, this is what's going to happen to you thing.
Right.
No, you have control.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I'm fascinated by this because I've been able to watch two family members pass, but my mother never wanted to be watched. She wanted, and when she was gone, she was gone. It
She,
took her a while to come back, and her attitude, I think, was, "I've given everything already. This
yes,
is
yes.
mine. Yeah, this
It's
is
my turn. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah." Which is kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. But hey, thanks so much for being on the show and sharing all this with us. So, but I want people to be able to get hold of you. So where can they get hold of you, or how do they contact you?
Probably the best way is through my website, Art of Kokoro, KOKORO.com. Kokoro is a Japanese kanji that means intelligent heart, feeling mind, or it's also can be translated as the most beneficial space for healing between the heart and the mind. So,
And can they also get hold of you just by your name?
yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah. And you offer not only death doula, you offer a number of other services.
correct.
Yeah.
Reiki, energy healing. I call it an intuitive healing session. Also tarot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, is there anything you want to add that we didn't talk about? One of your
Um,
services that you kind of think is a great one to do.
I think they're all great. I mean, I
I was going
love
to
biofield
say,
tuning. I love biofield tuning.
yeah,
It just feels so, you're just like, I feel like myself again a little bit, but I just feel
it just
um
removes all those blocks and that stuck energy.
correct. It just
Yeah.
moves it through those meridians in our body. And it's just a beautiful way, especially, I've always been a advocate of and a person that goes for acupuncture. But if you don't like the needles, the
Is there a
biofield
way to do
tunings,
it? Yeah.
yeah.
And that you have to do in person, right? But you do a lot on Zoom or remotely.
I do a lot on Zoom and remotely, and I do energy healing, and I've kind of found a way to use some of the sound healing with energy healing.
Mm-hmm. And you can do that remotely as well.
Correct.
Great, great.
Yay.
Well, thanks so much for
Thank
sharing all
you.
of this with us. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you so
Been
much. It's
great.
been a joy.
Good. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.